Donald Trump has come out and called for a ban on Muslims entering the United States, which, if enacted, would be the most self-isolating piece of legislation that the US has passed in decades. Now, this is a perfect example of a PsyQ issue because Donald Trump used a scientific study as the basis for his plan to ban all Muslims from entering the United States. But that study and the organization that commissioned it are completely biased. They're not even bad science, they're untruthful science. Now, the study that Donald Trump cited is by the Center for Security Policy, and so far no one has been able to debunk why that is a bad study. But here at PsyQ, we've been doing some digging, and we bring you the 7 reasons why the Center for Security Policy is deceptive, misleading, and utterly wrong. The Center for Security Policy said they surveyed over 800 Muslims in America, and when we asked who those people were, they couldn't even tell us because they didn't run the commission. It was an external third party called the polling company who actually ran the study. The polling company's survey was a random, opt-in phone call survey, which means that they had no way of verifying if the people they were serving were Muslim at all. They have no idea who the respondents were. They didn't keep those records. So they can't verify that their data is actually real. It's very highly likely that at least some of the respondents to that survey were answering for laughs or for fun and were not actually Muslim. We get hints that the data is fake from answers like these. 23% of those surveyed said that Islam is a political and military movement for world domination. 50% said yes, that Islam is at war with the United States. Now, I don't know every Muslim in the world, but I do know a few Muslims, and that doesn't sound like the normal response that Muslim people give. If you dig into the data, you find that 1/3 of the respondents said they weren't even observant Muslims. This isn't even the first time that the Center for Security Policy has tried to deceive us. They released a study back in June that surveyed over 600 Muslims, and in that study, 1/3 of respondents said violence against those who insult the Prophet Muhammad is acceptable, which flies in the face of existing data on Muslim attitudes in the United States. Links to those studies are in the description. Christopher C. Holt from the Center for Security Policy has also cautioned that results aren't meaningful. He said, "One cannot extrapolate directly from an online opt-in survey to the broader US population." Now, the results of the survey are being used to say why we shouldn't have Muslims coming into this country, particularly Syrian refugees. But the thing is, this data isn't even from Muslims who are from the Middle East. 32% of the respondents reported being white, an additional 24% African American or Black, and 2% were Native American. Only 16% of the respondents were actually reported to be from the Middle East. So to apply the results of this study to Syrian refugees is utterly stupid. And finally, 76% of respondents said that they were registered to vote in the United States. That means that at least 3/4 of the respondents were not foreigners, they're United States citizens. So in addition to being wildly flawed, this study can't even say anything about Muslims coming into the United States. It only is really applicable to Muslims inside the United States now. If anything, the data only indicates concern about anti-American sentiment from Americans themselves. In summary, Donald Trump has absolutely zero evidence, scientific or otherwise, to suggest that a ban on Muslims entering the United States would do any good whatsoever. Hi everyone, I'm Jade Lovell, resident science nerd on the Young Turks Network. You're watching PsyQ, and we know you don't want to miss an episode, so please click the subscribe button down below.